Hey guys, welcome back to Horror Huddle. I'm Stacy Beth. We have Ash as always.
Howdy.
And Adam is back.
Hey guys.
I'm sure you saw last week, we were covering chapters 1 through 4 of Stranger Things, and today we're covering chapters 5 through 8, which is the finale, and it's...
It's going to be a marathon.
I rewatched it again this morning, and I cried just the same, so it's pretty great. So we're going to start out talking about chapter 5, which is called The Flea and the Acrobat, and this one was directed by the Duffer Brothers, the creators. So... that one starts out with Hopper breaking into the lab, and this is when he's, kicking some ass, which is wonderful. He's just knocking the fuck out of it. He's not shooting anyone. He's not stabbing anyone. He's just beating the shit
out of everyone, and it was funny that, as he's walking through this thing, I was thinking, yeah, this guy is not out of place, this huge-ass motherfucker with all these cameras probably watching this place. He's just strolling through the place.
And I loved that when he went in and they were like, "Who are you? Why are you here?" And he's like, "Oh man, I'm Hopper. They didn't tell you I'm Hopper."
Yeah, the doc told me to come here. It's okay.
So it's smart because most people would have been like, oh shit, I'm busted. And he was just like, "Yeah, man, come on, just call for him." Then knocks him out, and starts beating the shit out of everyone.
Yeah. For a second, I thought he was going to pull a Han Solo. It was like, we're just here. I'm here for just whatever. And it's like, yeah, what's your identification? He's like, fuck it, shoots him. Yeah, it's like
he's very 80s Cobra, Die Hard, just straight up he's an over the top badass.
Yeah,
he's a badass, but just like Die Hard, he's like the working class badass.
Yeah.
He's like the anti-hero, kind of. Because, he's this, like we've talked in the last episode, he's this kind of ruggish, beat-up guy, that you didn't think would have it in him to do this.
Yeah.
And he's badass. So, and then it goes into the scene with Joyce, and we see Will's dad, which we saw at the end of episode 4, when Will's dad, Lonnie, shows up. And she's telling him about everything, the house is covered in lights and stuff, and...
Yeah, my son's still alive, he's through the lights, that body's fake, and Lonnie's like, no, hun, he's dead, move on with it.
Maybe you should go get some help and stuff like that.
Even though he's a dick character, from his point of view, he's right. It's like, her son's dead, you gotta move on.
Yeah. Because, even still at this point, while we do understand that she is on the right path, we know the truth, you still, kind of are like, yeah, you are acting a little crazy.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, if you weren't in the know, you would think she's absolutely batshit crazy.
Yeah.
It'd be hard, I would have taken the truth from the kids easier than I would have from her,
because he goes even beyond the lights. He's like, yes, he talked to me in lights, and there's creatures coming through my wall.
Yeah, okay.
It's like, okay. Yeah. He's like, yeah, let's just go sue the quarry company and make a bunch of money.
Yeah. But, so we then get into the scene with the boys and Elle and stuff, and they're all kind of brainstorming about where Will could be, because they had already talked to him in the walkie-talkie, and he was describing where he was. It was dark, it's cold, this and that, and they reference the Veil of Shadows. It could be like the Veil of Shadows. And she's calling it, or I don't know how they call it, the Upside Down, or somebody does, whatever. I don't know, at one point.
Yeah, it's the Upside Down.
And will they reference the Veil?
I always just call it the Shadow Realm, because it's like our world, but dark.
Yeah, and so they call it the Veil of Shadows, which I went and looked it up to see if this was a real thing in the games, in the D&D games and stuff. And apparently I think the Veil of Shadows, there are, the D&D games, these fantasy RPG games do have a dimension like that, but it's not called the Veil of Shadows. So I guess this one was just created for the show. So it's basically, like you said, Ash, it's like an echo of their reality, but it's dark and full of monsters and spooky stuff.
Yeah. But basically, okay, so now the kids know that. It's like, okay, he's there. How the fuck are we going to get there? How are we going to get him out?
And let me just say real quick, because I have this in my notes so I don't forget about it, when we see Hopper going into the lab and stuff.
Oh.
That lab... What?
Well, I do want to point out something. They call the opposite realm Upside Down. If you look on the shelf, I noticed this on my second watching. If you look on the shelf behind them when they're talking about, there's one board game that says upwards, and I was like, that might have been that might have been just kind of coincidence, or that might have been just a subliminal cue. This is the upwards, that's the downwards.
Yeah, cool. I didn't notice that, of course. But real quick, so I was going to say, that lab has the, like, untightest security
I
ever.
know.
Like,
God.
I don't even, what did I put? Yeah, I'm like, has the untightest security for a government-run experiment that's supposedly, like, housing this portal to another dimension. It's like...
Yeah, it's like we're the security guards with, AK-47s just sitting and waiting.
Mm-hmm. So,
especially since downstairs is the portal to another universe kind of thing. It's like, you would think that they would be...
guys, right? A couple guys is fine. That's it.
Yeah.
You don't need much.
A couple of rent-a-cops. Paul Blart, Mall Cop, there you go.
That would be someone on a Segway
Yeah.
at the time. So we do end up seeing Lonnie and Jonathan's relationship and realizing it's not good. Jonathan walks in and is like, what the fuck is he doing here? They walk into the room, you need to get out. Like, you need to leave. Oh, you're filling her mind with all this stuff. And then I loved when he goes, and you need to take that down. It's inappropriate. And it
Evil Dead poster.
Evil Dead poster.
Which was ironic because it was someone being pulled somewhere else by this hand. And I'm like, okay.
It was kind of great, yeah. So
I could see where Lonnie would think, that's probably influencing her mother to think all these crazy thoughts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so then we see the funeral of Will. We see the funeral montage and stuff. And, it's so funny because the kids aren't sad.
No,
like, they're goofing
upset.
around, they're joking. And even Joyce is like, just pissed because that's not my son. I know my son's
Well,
not.
even don't the kids point out this hot, hot for them, little girl that's crying and like, oh, we can't wait until we tell Will she was crying at his funeral.
And it's great because they know he's not dead.
Yeah.
So it's just, to them, this is a joke. This is like, whatever.
Oh, before we get any farther, the chief goes down into this whole area. He sees the portal. He touches it, which I'm like, dude, don't touch that. You don't know where it's been. Yeah. And he gets captured and knocked out by drugs and wakes up the next morning. And I thought, well, that was kind of weird. I was like, he just broke into supposedly high security complex. He's seen your top secret portal, and you're letting him go, just drugging him? I'm like, dude, no, you take him out back and you kill him.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So I thought that was a little weird.
Yeah. So when he wakes up in his trailer, he starts frantically searching around his trailer. And we're like, okay, what is he, unscrewing light bulbs? I mean, doing everything possible. Finds that his trailer had been bugged. That's how, because he realized, well, how did they even know I was here? How did they know I was doing this? How did they know where, I live? They bugged him.
Yeah.
So, meanwhile, Nancy and Jonathan decide that instead of telling his mom, hey, Mom, we realize that you're right, they decide to go monster hunting themselves.
Yeah, don't they get a gun out of Lonnie's car?
Yeah, and steal his gun and all of the bullets and stuff like that. And
then proceeds to go to the Army Navy store, was it?
I think an Army surplus, yeah.
Yeah, and they get all this crap. And it's like, it's bear traps and stuff, really dangerous stuff. And he's like, oh, I need bullets. And the guy behind the counter is like, so what are you doing with these? And they're like, monster hunting? And he's like, okay. It's like, this guy is like, I don't get paid enough to give a shit.
Yeah.
I just laughed because I was like, I've been to plenty Army surplus stores and I've never seen a bear
traps. Yeah.
I asked him, and I remember when we first saw the episode, I asked him, I said, I don't remember, I think I've been to one once many years ago, maybe 10 plus years ago, and was like, do they even have all this stuff just like sitting on the shelf like a box of toilet paper or something, can you just grab a bear trap? I mean, maybe the 80s were a different time, but I don't know.
I don't remember.
Plus it's small town.
Yeah.
Who knows? So then we see, what is it? Oh, when the boys at the funeral, or they're kind of like at the little party at the house after the funeral and stuff, and we see the boys talking to Mr. Clark.
Yeah, because they figure out if anyone knows how to get to this alternate realm, he would. So
theoretically.
Yeah, theoretically speaking. And they talk about this, we play this D&D game, and he's like, oh, really? And it's like, oh, yeah, he's a D&D player too.
Oh, yeah. And so we learn that the portal that they need to look for is disturbed by electromagnetic pulls and gravitational pulls and all this stuff. And what I loved about this scene, he knows, I'm so into time travel. I'm so into alternate dimensions. I love the whole subject. That scene was amazing because when they mentioned, the Veil of Shadows, right? And Mr. Clark, like you said, was like, oh, yeah, it's blah, 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 blah. He starts explaining. He's like, yeah, anyways, how do we get to that? But I was like, he is a nerd. Like, he was them when he was a kid. I think that's what plays into it so well, and why he was so free to explain that he didn't question them too much, you know. It was just
and, all of his examples of, like, what would happen if a gate were open were turned out to be true. Like, where compasses with true north not being north anymore because of gravitational stuff. And also he brings in a little thing that you see in the lab, that if a portal was open, that there's a chance that the realities would, in a way, merge.
Yeah.
That dimension would take over this, which you see as the show goes on, the lab, all that crap starts, getting farther and farther from that portal, showing that, it's merging.
Yeah, and it's cool because the title itself, The Flea and the Acrobat, is what Mr. Clark explains to them, how to travel in the dimension. When you guys watch the episode, you'll see it's a little bit much to explain right now. I'm a couple beers in, so I might fuck it up. But anyways, so they all start talking. The boys start talking about the compasses, and let's check our compasses for true north, like you were saying. And I have in my notes, of course, they all had a million compasses amongst the three of them. They all pulled out, like, more than one compass from their pockets. I'm like, oh, you little nerds, like, you just have, like, more than one in your pocket. Like, I think there were, like, maybe 7 or something like that, compasses between the three of them. Like, how does that work? So anyways, Dustin tells them that none of the compasses are working right. It's not pointing to true north. This is not right, so they decide that L will lead them to the gate.
The compasses will, because they realize that what true.
And L knows what to look for.
Yeah.
Like, she would know.
They would go north as far as what the compass goes, because north should lead them to the gate.
Yeah. And so L starts to take them, but she's hesitant. As we see that she's saying, no, it's scary. No, this is a bad idea. I can't take you guys. And okay, come on, you're fine. Let's go. And of course, this is when they're walking down the train tracks, like Stand By Me and stuff. It's all nice. Yeah. And so through more flashbacks, we see her getting into that sensory deprivation tank.
Yeah, that was pretty
their first experience.
I love that one.
And for me, it definitely, like, harkened back to that 80s flick, Altered States. I don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah.
But I fucking love Altered States. The whole point of it was he gets into a sensory deprivation tank and takes drugs, I think. I don't remember. And basically brings back with him this thing from another dimension.
Yeah.
Or it attaches itself to him, and he starts turning into this creature. It's a great movie. If you guys haven't seen it, please go watch it. It's wonderful. Really mindfuck movie. But anyways, so we see all those, and
back at Hopper's house, Keystone cops show up and basically tell him about, like, 2 hunters that I guess went missing in the same forest, and that they found Barb's car at, what was it, the bus station or something?
Yeah.
And at this point, Hopper knows, is like, dude, all this stuff is involved with the lab.
They're all in on it, yeah. And so then Hopper goes, this is when, like, I put, Joyce has a new kooky sidekick, because Hopper finally realizes she's right, And then the kids realize that Elle has been screwing with the compasses, because they're realizing, of course, Dustin being the little smart nerd he is like, wait a minute, the sun's setting over here. We're just doing a loop.
Yeah, we're
Lucas is the one who calls it out and is like, she's been screwing with the compasses. She doesn't want us to go there, and blah, blah, blah.
And he throws down the gauntlet, basically, telling Mike, it's like, you only want her here because, you have a hots for her, and she's getting between us. I was like dude, that was literally the kid's equivalent of bros before hoes.
He's like, a girl that likes you that doesn't think you're gross. Like, oh, it's cute. And, of course, he gets all upset about it. And so they start a big old fight. They start take each other to the ground. Mike and Lucas start fighting, and Elle uses her powers, and Lucas
swings his ass.
And he's pissed. He's, get off me, I'm leaving.
Well, even Mike's pissed off. He's like, why the hell would you do that? That could have killed him.
Yeah. I thought it was so cute. It's so funny because it's like you see kids fighting like that, and it was like that's more interesting than adult fight scenes I see in movies, and you do realize that she's been messing with the compasses because she's got fresh blood on her sleeve, and she's been kind of wiping it away the whole time so they wouldn't notice and stuff. And so when they're fighting, we flash back again to the bath with Elle. And it shows when they're using her, we see what they're using her for, and, when she's in that that black void with the water on the ground.
Yeah, which I look at as like limbo. It's not necessarily the shadow realm.
It's not the
in between place.
It's not the upside down. It's like that halfway point between both worlds.
Which I thought they pulled it off really well. Just complete dark with water on the ground, and then you see whatever she's supposed to be contacting.
And and you see just this like Russian adult man, I don't know, and he's speaking in Russian, and back at the lab through the speakers they can hear the Russian guy talking, so you're like, oh duh, like what we kind of figured the whole time is they're using her as almost like a spy for the Russians, you know.
But while she's in there, what does she hear?
She stumbles upon the Demogorgon.
She hears it and she goes running in the dream, and she wakes up and they hear it over the intercoms, this like,
and they're like
thing, and they're like, wait, not only has she, you know, been able to contact this person from the other, you know, across the world, she's now contacted something
else, something
elsewhere.
Yeah. So we're at the end of the episode, and this is when Nancy and Jonathan are now out in the woods where they figure that this creature is, and she finds Jonathan's off somewhere else, Nancy's over here, and she finds this kind of like this gooey portal in a tree.
Yeah.
And
any
one of us, I would imagine, would see that gooey portal and say, hey, I'm going to go find you. Come over here. Come check this shit out.
Well, yeah, and I thought it was funny that they split up before that. I was like, no, if you're going after something that's just drug a deer, a half-dead deer,
front of them,
right in front of them, out of nowhere, I would be like, dude, we need to stick together because that thing could kill either of us easily.
Yeah.
So they split up, and then she sees the hole, and she's like, it looks like it's covered in KY jelly. Looks nasty. I'll crawl into it.
Yeah. And she crawls in, like I said in my notes, because she's an idiot.
Yeah.
And we see her in there. We see our, like, I guess, real glimpse into the upside down. And it's the woods, of course. But it's got the floaty stuff, you know, it's funky. And she hears the Demogorgon feasting on the deer that he pulled.
Yeah.
And we really see it. We really see it this time.
And we finally get a good look, and it's...
You don't remember what it looked like?
No, I guess
no.
not.
So when it turns around, it's like almost like a flower, like it opens.
Oh yeah.
It's very Guillermo del Toro.
Like a big butthole flower.
Yeah, it's very inspired, I think, by Guillermo del Toro's stuff.
Yeah, and so it ends on the scene of it looks like the tree is starting to almost close, and that's what it ends on.
Yeah, and she gets close to it, I think, and he hears her voice. He doesn't know where it's coming from. She hears his voice, and he walks right past this tree. You're like, she's in there, and that's basically where it cuts. You're thinking, dude.
At the end of the episode, can we talk about our thoughts on our first look into this monster? Like, what did you think about it?
I mean, I thought it was cool just because I love the fact that its head opened up like that and stuff. Like, did we see it when...
We haven't seen it up yet. We just saw it
Okay, that was the first time. Okay, yeah, because when we saw it with Elle, it was just hunched over.
Well, even with Barb,
even with Barb, they were only doing quick cuts. Because you did see the mouth opening, but it was like maybe 5 frames most.
Like, I liked it because it didn't seem like it was too CGI, you know, in the sense.
Well, that's funny because I'm total opposite. Yeah. I even in my notes put on the CGI of the monster.
Oh, really?
I didn't care. And I think Ash might agree with me. Like, I loved the creature design. I really did like the creature design. I just think that it could have been done a little bit better.
I didn't think it looked too CGI considering it was a TV show.
Well, and plus it was
that's
a lot of the scenes with it were dark, so you couldn't tell that it was.
And they do that well most of the time, as far as using the shadows to kind of hide.
Yeah.
You know, the CG effect, basically.
Yeah.
I do think that the creature design, for the most part, was kind of it's okay. The only thing that makes it better is the mouth. Other than that, it's just basically this kind of grayish monster.
But I also think of the fact that it's still a kid's show.
Yeah.
So you can't have a monster that's just so crazy over the top.
Yeah, but at the same time, this is a show that features kids, but it's for adults. It's for you and I, the people who grew up in the 80s that remember this stuff. I mean, because when they do show gore, and they eventually do later on, like as far as dead bodies and stuff, they don't hold back.
That's true.
Yeah.
So I think that just they could have went a little bit farther.
I was iffy on it.
Yeah.
Iffy on it. Okay, so we're going into Chapter 6, The Monster.
Yeah, and it basically, again, like every other episode, picks up right where the last one
opens on Nancy escaping the tree vagina, as I put it.
Yeah, that's what I actually put. It was like the small tree vagina.
Yeah, and it was great because, so of course she follows Jonathan's voice, and I loved it. Evil Dead. You see the hand burst out of the tree. It scares the shit out of him, scares the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Like, and he pulls her out, gets her out.
And I remember after it was out, I was like, fuck that giving tree, kill it with fire.
Pretty much, yeah. So then we go to Steve and his hair, trying to find Nancy. He's worried.
Him and the Stooges.
Yeah, trying to find Nancy. He's worried about her. He's genuinely concerned about her and stuff. And he ends up at her house. Because, of course, Nancy and Jonathan are back at her house. She's showered. She's having fucked up flashbacks already. She's a little traumatized.
Okay, now, in that scene, I wish she would have been in a bathtub. Taking a bath instead of a shower. Her name is Nancy. I think that would have been a nice callback to Nightmare on Elm Street, especially since the very next scene, she gets out of the bathroom, goes into her room. She's wearing, it's not white, it's blue pajamas with flowers. And I was like, you turn those into white. It's what Nancy wore in the Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah. So,
missed opportunity.
Yes, I agree. Steve finds, peeking through the window like a creeper, finds Nancy and Jonathan in her bed, and he's comforting her, he's rubbing her back and stuff. He thinks it's something sexual.
But Jonathan really wants to be rubbing her front.
Yeah. But also what we failed to mention in God damn it. That just processed in my brain. Anyway, so what we failed to mention in episode 5 was that Elle took off after the fight. Elle took off, nowhere found. So Mike's back at home. He's all sad because Elle's gone, can't find her and stuff. He's staring longingly into her fort,
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we get from them for now. And when Nancy wakes up with Jonathan, she starts to tell him, hey, I've been reading, I couldn't sleep, I've been reading up on this, and he's attracted to blood. It's like a predator. And, it's like Jaws and stuff, And
I will say, we need to make a correction. The scene with the the Army Navy store, I think happens in this episode, not the last one. Because it's after she knows about the blood is when she gets the traps for later on. Because isn't it outside where they're getting the traps is when she...
No, that was last episode.
Because once they leave the Goodwill store, isn't that when she sees the message, or the car drives by saying, hey, yeah, we can't wait to see your new movie.
No, that's this episode.
Yeah, but that's right after the Army Navy store.
Okay, maybe. Whatever. Yeah, like I said, it all starts to blend in.
Yeah, it does. So a lot of these some of these details, the less important ones, might I say.
Exactly. So forgive us for that. But yeah, it's like an 8-hour-long movie, like we said last episode. So please forgive us. But anyways, so we see Elle, and she's out on her own. She's all dirty, and she is hungry, so she strolls to a grocery store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what does she do?
She gets some Eggo waffles.
And I love that when the store clerks or whatever is just talking, excuse me, can I help you? Blah, blah, and mouth breather. And then she just walks off and goes and grabs her Eggos and stuff and causes a stir and uses her powers to slam the doors on them and stuff like that. It's really funny. Of course, since Lucas isn't having anything to do with Elle or any of them now because she's the traitor, and all this stuff, he plans to take off on his own to find Will.
But before he does, there's that beautiful scene where it's Dustin and Mike, and Dustin's like, you fucked up, man. You did. You know what? We're friends before all this, and you're the one that pushed him. You pushed him. You drew first blood. You need to make up for it.
That requires the handshake, like all that stuff. So he takes off on his own. There's that scene. We're still getting flashbacks of Elle in her bath. And now at this point, Papa, as she calls him, or Dr. Brenner, wants her to find the creature. Now.
Yeah, it's supposed to be the culminating achievement of this.
And this is what causes the opening of the portal, is she touches the creature and it realizes that she is there. And it lights go crazy in the lab and this crack forms in the wall, and that's what is the portal. So it is her fault. This happened because of them. So we see how it all came to be. And so then we see Hopper and Joyce go to the home of Terry Ives, who we have found out is she voluntarily went into the MK Ultra project with Dr. Brenner. And she, took all these drugs and LSD and all whatever they gave her and stuff. And unknowingly, she was pregnant. And we, while her sister lives with her. Her sister's the one. Terry Ives at this point is like totally just
catatonic, basically.
Yeah, catatonic, totally. And she's all fried now, but she maintains that they took her baby because she says that they tell her that she had a miscarriage 3 months in or something like that.
Yeah, and the sister even goes to explain, she's like, she thinks all these conspiracy theories about the government having these secret projects. I mean, you've read Stephen King, right? And I was like, oh, yeah, nice little reference to Firestarter.
Yeah. So, what was the name that she had given?
Oh, Jane was supposedly the baby's name.
And we start putting two and two together, and so do they, realizing Terry Ives' baby is
Elle.
And that's why she has all these powers now. And so they took the baby from her and are harnessing them,
Yep.
And that was like the moment, Okay, now we realize where she came from, her backstory, how she has these powers and stuff.
So MK Ultra worked, technically.
Yep.
Well, in the show it did. In real life, people were fucked up from that stuff.
But yeah, as that happens, Lucas continues to do his own thing.
Yeah.
Trying to follow the compass to the lab. And here's the scene. I was right. It is in this episode. Sorry, guys. This is where the Army surplus scene comes into play. Because it's after she gets traumatized. She's like, no, it's attracted to blood. We need to find a way to trap it now in the house. So they go to the Army Navy store, of course. They get all the stuff. As they leave, a car drives by and tells Nancy, "Is like, I can't wait to see your new movie." And she's like, "What the fuck are they talking about?" She goes around the corner and she sees that someone has painted on like the big billboard in front of the movie.
All the right moves.
Yeah, Nancy the Slut Wheeler. And she hears someone spray painting in the alley behind there, and she finds Steve and the Stooges.
And Steve comes out, you were doing some fucked up stuff. No, I'm not. Jonathan kicks the fuck out of him.
Yeah. Steve goes off on Jonathan, because at first Jonathan wanted to leave. He's like, let's just go. And then Steve's like, yeah, you come from a fucked up family of inbreeders.
White trash.
White trash. Your mom's fucking nuts.
And then it got him when he says, no wonder what happened to your brother.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so Jonathan fucking flips. Now, think about it. It's also 80s. They're in an alleyway. I wish the scene would have turned out kind of like the one from They Live. The Roddy Piper is just dirty ass fight,
10-minute long fight.
10-minute long fight between the two. And, point where one of them tries to hit the other one in the nuts. And he's like, dirty motherfucker, Would have loved that.
That would have been awesome. So after that, they get taken in. Jonathan and Nancy get taken in.
Yeah, and then Steve and the rest run off.
So, yeah, of course. And I loved it because the Keystone cops, those goofy-ass cops were like, hey, get back here, you punks. Come on, get back. Just so goofy. Weren't even trying. So this is when we see Dustin and Mike go searching for Elle in the woods on their bikes. They get ambushed by the two bullies. They take off running. They end up on the road at the quarry, or at the ledge that leads down to the quarry.
Yeah.
Will was.
And holy shit.
Yeah, it escalates pretty damn quickly out of nowhere. Kind of a little bit jarring to me. The bully basically grabs Dustin and holds a knife to his throat.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, there were bullies, and I don't think any of the bullies I knew, just threatened to slit a person's throat.
Well, so what he was saying was he was like, oh, I'm going to save him a trip to the dentist. I'm going to take his baby teeth out. So the whole funny thing was, we never mentioned this, but in the first part of our...
Yeah.
Dustin apparently, the reason his teeth are like that is he still has his baby teeth. And he's like, 10 or 11 years old. He still has his baby teeth because it's some kind of condition he has where his baby teeth are still there. And he's like, no, it's okay. Like, I don't need my baby teeth. They're fine, because the bully tells Mike, jump off the ledge, or I'm going to
Now, remember, this is the same Corey that they had in a previous episode where it was all the cops still looking for Will. They mentioned the Corey, and he's there, and he's like, maybe you jumped, and Hopper's like, no.
He'd
If this
be like,
sense, you hit, it's like concrete, you'll break your arms, legs, you'll die. And that was at the back of my head. It was like, don't jump, you'll die.
Yeah, so Mike says, no, I'm going to do it. I want to save you. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And he's like, no, don't. And he just steps off. And the first time I watched it, Adam was asleep. And I was like, oh. And then all three boys, the two bullies and Dustin stop. And they just, he puts his knife down and they go running to the edge and look. And Dustin says, holy shit.
Yeah, and I actually had that in my notes. I was like, holy shit indeed.
Yeah.
Because he's floating.
Mike floating. And you're like, yes, Elle.
Because you know she's there somewhere.
And you see him float back up. And he ends up on the floor. And Elle comes and...
complete badass mode.
Knocks the lesser bully down and...
just like that, and snaps the kid's arm. It's like,
and my favorite was, so they take off running, and Dustin's screaming at him, yeah, she's our friend, and she's crazy. Like, she'll kick your ass. Get out of here. Like, it was just one of the greatest scenes. And
they have a flashback after that, I believe. That was the one where she actually goes into the void this one last time, and she sees the creature, freaks out, all hell breaks loose. And she wakes up from the kind of vision, and that's where she's kind of crumpled on the ground after doing all that stuff, and she explains to the boys, she's the monster, she's the one that caused it. And Mike's like, no, you're not the monster, you just saved my life.
Yeah, and it was that really heartwarming scene when all three of them just start hugging each other, and I'm like, oh, it's so precious. Like, they're all just sitting there hugging each other, and it's really, really great. And so the final scene we get to is when Lucas is in the tree, because he's found a place.
He realizes that the power and cable trucks that he's seen around town work there. And as the trio of Dustin, Mike, and Elle go back home, they pass one of the trucks. He radios in.
Oh, that's next episode, but yeah. So.
No, that's this one, because it was at the end of this episode where they all show up to Mike's house. The call goes into the lab, and then Lucas sees all the people getting ready to leave to capture him.
The episode ends on Dustin, Mike, and Elle walking into the back of the house. And
and you know that the bad men are coming.
Oh, shit. So what did you think about that whole scene when you rewatched, or when I had you watch it again, with Mike jumping over the ledge?
Yeah, that's the coolest part.
Yeah.
It's like... him floating there was just awesome.
I mean, and it was so well done.
Yeah.
Like, it looked cool. It didn't look like, they made sure that whatever scene would be too CGI was really fast.
Yeah.
And, like, I don't know.
I thought it was well done because, I mean, it didn't look like he was on wires or anything that much. I mean, it didn't look stationary. There was some wobble and kind of give to it.
Yeah.
So it did look like, Elle was using the force.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a funky episode. Like, it was, like, you got a lot more explanation behind her. And, and then that's also, in the quarry scene, is when you really saw how much power she uses to do this stuff, because this is when she starts really kind of losing her energy.
Yeah.
Now
even then, as she's losing her energy, you see her now more able to control it better. Like, more finesse to it, to where she can do more things. Like,
but at this point, she's using more because she's now bleeding from her ears also, and you're like...
Yeah, you realize that there is a limit to her power. It does tax her.
Yeah, she can only do so much before it's going to kill her or something, you know?
Probably.
So now we're on to chapter 7, the bathtub. And that one opens with Dustin and Mike getting the frantic calls on the walkie-talkie from Lucas.
But before that, there is a touching scene. Because it starts up with Mike cleaning off Elle. You know, because she's all dirty. And there's that moment where she goes in to kiss him. He kind of goes in to kiss her. And out of nowhere, Dustin, who is now the official cockblock of the show.
He's the resident cockblock.
Yeah.
Yes, he is. He's the one that heard Lucas on the radio saying, yeah, bad, something. He's like, bad mojo, bad what? Bad,
He goes, Mad Hen? Do you know what that means? Is that Mad Hen? Is that a nickname for something? He's like, no, bad men are coming. Oh, shit.
Yeah. So, yeah, he tells Mike. Mike hears it, and he runs to the window, and he looks around, and he sees a truck outside, and he goes up to his mom, and he's like, Mom, do we have any work that's being done on, like, our electricity? And she's like, no. And then at that point, Dustin's looking out the window, and he sees, like, 9 more trucks show up, and he's like, oh. And he goes to Mike, he's like, we have to get out of here. We have to get out of here now.
Like, Mike, we gotta go. And he's like, Mom, I'll see you later. Yep. If anybody asked, I left the country. And it was so funny, but he was serious.
Yeah, like, completely serious.
He was totally, just, if anybody calls, take some messages, I'm out of the country.
Yep.
And so that's when we see Lucas meet up with him in a great little bike chase scene. And stuff.
Very E.T.
So neat. And Mike meets up with them, and then we see the scene, because there's vans.
The scene that's in the trailer, yeah.
I'll get to that, yeah. And the van is coming straight head on for them, and you're like, what are they going to do? We're playing chicken at this point. And you see her face just doing the thing, and the van and all sound stops. And the van just flips over and flies over them and fucking crashes in front of them.
And I wish there would have been like this little moment where the driver of the van would be looking at them, and like they make eye contact with the driver in the van, who's like not quite registering what's going on as he's flipped upside down.
Unfortunately, what sucked for me was that they had shown it in the trailer.
Yeah.
Definitely took away the impact of it.
I agree.
Like, it still gave me chills when I saw it, but I feel like had we not, because that was a really big moment in the show itself.
Yeah.
Like, just to see what she can do.
Yeah, that's the most she's used of her power.
Yeah. And I talked to a friend today, and he was like, well, I didn't watch the trailer. I said, well, then that scene...
That's good.
I said, that scene must have been great for you, but we had already seen it, so it was like...
we know it's coming, but it's not necessarily bad. I mean, it's still entertaining as hell, but yeah, it does kind of suck.
It was way less impactful.
Yeah.
So, this is when we see the government finally come into contact with Mike's parents.
Yeah.
They come in and tell her, your son's in danger. This girl they have this girl with them, and, the dad's like, we would have known if a girl was in his basement.
And I remember in my notes I put, I feel bad for his mom. Nancy's been hiding boys in a room, and Mike's been hiding a girl in the basement. It's like, dude, you have no control over your kids.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
But also, the kids meet up at the graveyard, and they finally bury the hatchet, as far as Lucas, telling Elle, it's like, yes, it's okay, I'm friends with you now, friends forever.
That was so cute. And she was like, friends don't lie. Like, she wasn't lying to them. Like, telling you the truth, I just didn't want you to get hurt, So they're hiding out. The boys with Elle are all hiding out in this bus, this abandoned school bus and stuff, while this serious manhunt goes on now for them. I mean, helicopter.
Yeah, they're trying to make plans, and then they hear that chopper, and they're like, I'm not, because
So now Hopper and Joyce have connected with Nancy and Jonathan, and so finally they all
at the police station. And I love that scene where they're like, Hopper's like, so why is he here? And he's
the
like,
bully shows up.
Well, even before that, they're like, Chief, you need to take a look in the back of his car. And they open the trunk, and there's all this stuff, and I was like, probable cause, warrant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, they finally meet the bully, who has his arm broken. His mom brings him in. And I do like the fact that, his mom's like, tell him about the girl.
Yeah. Tell her that she uses her mind. Normally she'd be, you think a parent...
The mother would be like, telling her sons, like, don't make shit up.
Don't say that.
She's like, tell him that, your arm was broken by a psychic girl.
Like, she moves stuff with her mind. She can make people fly, It was really cool. So they all connect with each other. Now, then you get the comedic relief cops again when they're like, a girl did it, and she's like, what do you mean? I'm just saying it was a girl. He's just saying it's a girl. I'm just saying. I don't know. Like, it was just really, really funny.
Yeah, and I love that, the boy has had 2 comeuppances so far. First off, he pissed his pants and everyone laughed at him, and now he's at the police station and a couple of cops are kind of laughing at him like, you got your ass beat by a girl.
Yeah, it was kind of wonderful. So at this point, Hopper, Nancy, all of them are like watching from a distance. The government people clean out Mike's basement. You see the D&D games, all that stuff.
I will bring up something that kind of pissed me off in the police station. You just had a van flip, somersault in the air, land in the middle of a suburb, and no one fucking called the cops? Because they're at the police station. I don't hear anyone going out on a call for an accident.
Yeah, that's true.
So I was like, I wish they would have at least, like, right at the end of the scene, as Hooper and Will's mom leave or something. That one of the cops like, wow, I just got a weird call saying that there was an accident right in this neighborhood, just to kind of patch that little plot hole. But
whatever. That's neither here nor there.
True.
So geniusly, we see the kids are trying to figure out with Hopper and Joyce how to contact Mike, find out where they're at. Jonathan says, I think I might know how to contact Mike. Walkie-talkie.
Yeah.
So they get a hold of Mike, and they're worried that, they could be setting them up and stuff like that. And
there's a cute scene where they're talking about, like, Hopper is like, well, he's probably, on our side. And, Lucas says, like, yeah, I trust him. I mean, I wouldn't trust, Nancy. And in the background, you can see Mike going like, what the fuck?
What do you mean you don't trust my sister? Like, seriously?
I love that little touch.
Yeah, it was pretty good. So we're back with the government, like the government, like the henchmen find the kids first at the school bus and stuff. And, of course, who saves the day? Hopper.
Yeah.
Of course. Like, I love that scene when it's a henchman with the guns and stuff, and he opens the school bus door, and then you see bonk, like, on his head. And then I love that the kids are, like, looking around, and you hear, what the hell? Like, what's going on? Oh, my God. Like, and it's because it's fucking Hopper kicking everybody's ass. And he fucking, and not even one gunshot.
Yeah.
He just kicks everybody's ass.
Off camera, kicks their ass.
Fucking ninja fucking cop. Like, he just fucking, like...
When did we get, and I might be backtracking or may not have happened, but when did we get Hopper's background? Like,
not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. That's coming up.
You do, I think there was a scene where he does call his ex-wife, I believe, at the beginning of...
Yeah, we see that. He calls his ex-wife, and he just wants to make sure she's okay. And then once he hears a baby crying on the other end, he's like, never mind, bye. And she's like,
it was like, goodbye. Like,
are you, and so still haven't gotten his full story. But what I love about Hopper is that, like, he has this, like, such a commanding presence and this intimidating presence. Like, when he got onto the bus after he kicked ass, he gets on the bus and he's like, let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
He goes, let's go. Like a dad.
Yeah.
Like, he's like and they all grab their shit and go. But it wasn't mean and he wasn't scary. He's just like, get your ass out now. Like a father would be.
Yeah.
And it was just, that's what I really appreciated about his character was he wasn't intimidating and stuff, but it wasn't scary and it wasn't mean and it was just a dad, like these were all his kids, basically.
Around this scene, we also get the somewhat redemption of Steve. Because I guess after the ass beating he got, he's, talking with his friends. He's like, yeah, it was kind of fucked up what we did. And his friends are like, oh, no, it's okay. And he's like, fuck you guys. He leaves them and he goes back to the movie theater.
They keep making fun of,
And he goes back to the movie theater and he tells the owner, who's now trying to clean off the spray paint on the board, he's like, I'll clean that up. And he's like, okay. So
he's like, did you do this? He's like, let me do this. Like, let me help.
So he's trying to buy it back.
Yeah.
He's still a dick in my book, though.
Yeah, we'll finish that, though. But, so at this point, we got everyone together now, kids included. And this is when they realize that they can get Elle to do the sensory deprivation bath and stuff.
But at first they tried the radio. and it doesn't work. And they're like, well, how will it work? And she's like, oh, bathtub. And they're like, how the fuck are we going to do this? So who do they call?
Dustin calls old badass Mr. Clark.
Yes. Who I think this scene that we're about to talk about throws a big twist of what we expected out of Clark, because he seemed kind of soft, maybe gay. We find him on the couch with a hot Asian girlfriend watching The Thing.
Yeah.
And he's telling her, he's like, yeah, that was stretched hot plastic there. And the girlfriend's like,
it melted bubble gum.
Yeah. And he gets the call from Dustin. I was like, again, Dustin, the fucking cock block.
But I love it because when Dustin calls, he's asking how to make a sensory deprivation tank. And he's like, look, you got to call me back on Monday.
Yeah. Can't this wait?
We got to do this. And I love Dustin because some of the lines he has where he deadpans them. Like, just straight up deadpans them. Like, what do you need this for? Fun? Okay.
I know, that was great. Just straight man, just like, fun.
Okay, anyways, this is how you do it. And he's like, Mr. Clark, you tell us to, like, open our minds for curiosity and blah, 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 or whatever, and you're gonna shut that door on curiosity for us?
Yeah, you're gonna stunt our growth.
Yeah, like, it was so wonderful. And he sits there and he's writing, and I loved it because I realized he's a lefty. So am I. So I was like, oh, yay, and shows him how to build a sensory deprivation tank. Like, just thinking it's for fun. Like, because he's probably like, I was one of those kids at one point. I wanted to know how to do this stuff, you know?
Yeah, and they get all the stuff together, the kiddie pool, the rock salt from the school that's supposed to desalt the ground when it gets frozen. And he's like, well, what's the fucking worst that can happen? School's canceled.
Yeah, yeah, that was great.
Yeah. I love the motherly feel that Joyce gives to Elle. Like, she's sitting with Elle, just them two, and she's talking to her, and she's like, look, if anything happens, I will be right here. You have me. Like, something that, you know, Elle never had in her life. Yeah. Sure, she had Papa, but... Well,
Papa also tortured her in horrible experiments.
Exploiting her, and sure, they are exploiting her for this, but... Yeah. Not for nefarious means. And she understands that. But it was good. It was a really, like, heartwarming scene to see. She's, like, Ella's never had a mother. And she has this mother figure now.
And you know, I do like, you know, that they did have that scene because you realize that this, you know, what she's about to do was probably part of one of the most traumatic things in her life, seeing the monster the first time.
Yeah.
So she's going back to that same place.
And it was cool. So we see her in this tank, or it's a kiddie pool in the middle of the gym at the middle school and stuff. And she goes to the Upside Down to contact Barb and Will because Nancy wants to know where Barb's at and if Barb's okay. And that's when we see what we feared all along. Barb is gone.
Yeah, and I remember in my notes.
She's saying, gone. Like,
yeah, in my notes I was like, wow, that's some nasty shit. I mean,
remember that
her body was like bloated, discolored. There was that weird slug that came out of her mouth. I was like,
yeah,
what did you?
That was damn good work.
When you finally saw that Barb was.
I mean, I just figured she was.
I figured it too. She was a disposable character.
Yes, exactly. You know, and then it makes you worried about Will.
Yeah.
You know, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you know, as Stacey said, she freaks out, but who's there to calm her down?
Joyce, yeah.
Joyce is like, it's okay, I'm here. So it's like, oh.
So while she's there, she sees Will's, like, castle buyers that we've seen.
Yeah, the shadow version.
Yeah, the shadow version. And so we see Will for the first time, really, really see him, not through that, you know, hole in the wall at Joyce's. We see him for the first time, and he's looking worse for the wear. Yeah. Like, he's looking like he's sick.
Yeah, even I put that. He's like, he's alive, but he ain't doing well.
We can gather that he's not going to last much longer. Yeah. And Elle goes in there and is holding his hand and telling him, you know, they're coming for you, you're fine. And you can hear Will in the walkie-talkie that they got set up and stuff. So it's so cool. And so after that, when she wakes up, because she freaks out, Joyce and Hopper leave the fucking kids.
Well, because they realize, how do you get into that alternate reality?
Yeah.
The lab.
But they leave the kids, and you're like, like, why? We can't. So then Nancy and Jonathan also end up leaving the kids alone at the middle school because they say, we're going to go steal the supplies back from the police station. We're going on our own monster hunting.
Yeah.
We're going to kill that monster.
Yeah.
But the episode, basically, they leave... Hopper and Joyce leave to go to the lab. They break in.
Well, no, hold on. They don't break in yet. They get busted.
They go to break in, and they're busted outside the front door.
And the last we see is we go back to Will in this kind of limbo.
Yeah, Shadow Realm or wherever, the underworld.
Singing the Clash song.
Yeah.
And he's cold and he's gooey and he's all wet and he just looks sick as fuck. And the scene ends on him hearing the Demogorgon walking around. He's like, oh shit. And it
rips off half the dang
Castle Byers blows in.
And it goes straight to black screen and then credits. And on these credits, I think, I got to rewatch them all, but might be the only one that I noticed that there was no music whatsoever.
You sure?
To really emphasize that he might be dead.
You on this, like, oh shit, it got him. Oh, how did he manage to stay hidden for so long?
He just, because was he in Castle, whatever?
He was in his Castle Byers, of course.
Oh no, but he was in the house at some time too.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like, it's
You're a smart kid.
Yeah.
So
smarter than Barb.
Oh, poor Barb. Rest in peace, Barb. Anyway, so now we are at the final episode. Chapter 8, The Upside Down.
Yes.
Title alone suggests that we are finally going in. We're going to be in
there. Yeah, we've had little teases of it. We've seen little bits of it. But we're finally going to be able to see a lot of this underworld.
And what I liked about this episode is that it opens on the night sky, pans down to the lab like the first scene in the first episode.
Yeah.
Pans down to the lab with Joyce in an interrogation room and Hopper fucking getting his ass tased.
Yeah, she got the kid gloves treatment by the doctor. He's getting tased.
My note says, Hopper getting tased, LOL. Like, because she's in the interrogation room, and he is fucking just getting tased to all hell.
And he proposes to him
what do you know? How much do you know? Everything.
Yeah, everything, yeah. But then he proposes, he tells her, basically let us into the wall badge, and we won't say a word.
Yeah, that's a little bit later in the episode, but basically he does that. He basically comes to an agreement with Dr. Brenner.
Yeah, he actually mentions it and talks to Dr. Brenner. He's like, yeah, here's exactly what I'll do. I will...
He says, I'll show you where your little science experiment is.
And I remember when it happened, I was like, dude, you're selling your soul to the devil at this point. You're literally saying you can take this innocent girl if we can have a chance to get Will back. I was like...
But we don't quite know yet his intentions for doing that, though. It wasn't just as cut and dry. So then we see Nancy and Jonathan booby-trapping the house.
Yes.
It's the plan to result in the monster getting caught.
Nightmare on Elm Street, very much like, when Nancy was rigging the house for Freddy.
House.
Yeah.
And then I noticed, I was like, it's not that easy to drive nails through a baseball bat.
No.
Yeah, just saying. But it looked badass.
Yeah. So they're getting it caught. Their plan is to get the monster caught in the trap and then basically set him on fire.
Yeah.
Gasoline everywhere and stuff. And so then we're back, of course, with Hopper offering, confidentiality and stuff. So to go find Will. They give him hazmat suits.
And they explain to him why they need them, because the air in the underverse is supposedly toxic.
Yes, exactly. So
and basically, that they're figuring on, well, these two people are going to die in there anyway.
Exactly, yeah. They're not going to, but they at least give them a firearm, an Uzi. Yeah. I was thought, that's a nice touch. I mean, they should have given it to the last poor asshole that went in there and died.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is when it comes to when you really realize that this is going to be one of the more heartbreaking episodes, because we finally kind of get the first part of Hop's backstory. And he's playing with his daughter in the park and being really active with her, and she seems to start having trouble breathing. And that eventually lead us to her death, because we know she's dead. We got that in the first couple episodes, that she's dead, because he's trying to calm Joyce down. Just calm your breathing down, this, that, and that's what he was doing to his daughter. So you're like, oh no, this is not, we're going to see it. It's not going to end well, obviously. So then it cuts to Nancy and Jonathan luring the monster with their blood.
Yeah.
They do almost like a fucking blood pact together thing, cut their hands and stuff. And goddamn old fucking Steve
comes up.
Steve comes out fucking like a cop knock.
Yeah.
Starts banging on the door.
It's like...
Barges in.
Yeah, and she, like, threatens to shoot him, and I was like, just shoot.
Fucking bitch pulls a gun on his
Just shoot him.
Bitch pulls a gun on his ass.
But they backtrack to the boys at the gym basically wondering, where the fuck are all the adults? And Dustin goes off to find what? Pudding.
Yeah.
He's like, I know the lunch lady hides it. Like,
and I was like, you poor walking stereotype.
So wonderful. So back at Joyce's house with Jonathan and Nancy and Steve now, the lights start flickering. They're trying to get Steve to get the hell out.
Yeah.
And the lights start flickering. They're like, all right, fucker, you're here with us. The fucking monster comes through the roof.
Yeah, not the wall, the roof.
And I love, what I loved is
nice little twist.
Jonathan grabs Steve's hand and yanks him with them. When it's like, he didn't have to do that. He could have said, peace. Like,
yeah, it's like, fuck you.
It was nice. He
grabbed my camera.
And took him. And so we see more Hop flashbacks. And we see that his daughter has cancer. Now he's sitting with her in a hospital bed. She's bald, no hair, all that stuff. And you're like, oh my God, damn it, man. Like, because you're not going to make it easy on us.
Yep. But when back at the house, when they run into the, I guess it was his bedroom and
Jonathan's bedroom.
Yeah, they realize that they have this little thing set up to where if the trap goes off, the yo-yo gets pulled, I guess it is, so they'll know it was caught. The thing goes to the door and then vanishes. It's like it disappears. I was like I thought like Jurassic Park, where the guy was with the rifle. He's like, clever girl. So you're like, yeah, this isn't a stupid animal. This thing is smart. It knows they're trying to catch him.
So Nancy, after this, they find out that it's not there. Nancy tells Steve, you got to get the fuck out of here, dude. Get out now.
Get out.
Running to his car, keys in hand, ready to get out. And he's about to jump in his car, and he sees the lights flashing again.
And again, just like Joyce, what the fuck does he do? Doesn't drive off screaming like I would. Because I'd be like, dude, she wants to fuck that other guy. That's fine. They can die in there together. I'm going.
Oh, no. Steve motherfucking saves the day because Gorgon has gone
ex-dickhead
and is about to kill their asses, and all you see is Steve barge in. He's got the bat. He's fucking, and I love that
shit out of it.
The scene with the lights blinking, and it's almost like his silhouette. He does like a cool little flip of the bat and gets it and stuff, and you're like, fucking Steve, man. You're kind of redeeming yourself a little bit here. So they trap the Demogorgon, and then they light it ablaze. And they do.
And around that time is when, in the Underverse, Hopper and Joyce find the destroyed cabin.
Yeah.
But on their way to that cabin, did you notice the egg?
What?
The front of the house?
Well, there's this weird egg thing as they're going to the
yes.
And I was like, fucking alien. It's the exact same size. It doesn't look the same, but it's the exact same size. And Hopper actually stops and touches it, and I was like,
so let me ask you, in this scene of Steve real quick, though, saving the day, did he redeem himself for you?
Yes. Oh, definitely.
Yeah, like, were you excited when he popped in?
Well, here was the deal, is that I figured, honestly, in my head, Steve was going to get killed.
Me too, that's what I thought.
I was like, okay, they're going to kill Steve.
Well, that's not only what I thought, that's what I wanted.
Yeah. But then he became the badass. Now, real quick, and I don't remember if it was in the underneath or... If
upside
it was
down.
in the upside
Both
down.
of y'all call it the upside down. Damn it. Call it what it is.
It was either the upside down or in the regular when Steve sees the lights or something, but I think it was in the upside down. There's a scene where they zero in on the front of the house, but the way it's in, it's the front of the Evil Dead cabin.
Yeah, it looks
I looked at that and I'm like, and they held on to it just a little too long.
And also, I think in a previous scene, they showed the front porch of that place. It has a wooden swing.
Oh.
Yes.
That was like teetering back and forth. I was like, if it just teetered enough to bang the side of the wall.
Yeah, I saw that and I was just like, oh, that's their little...
Yeah. There's a little nod, little wink, especially with the Jonathan having the poster on the wall.
Yeah. So in that scene, when they come out and they realize that the Demogorgon is no longer there, despite them having burned it and stuff, this is when you get kind of like that touching scene of Joyce and Hopper in the Upside Down, and they're in this, and they start seeing.
Yeah, they go into the dark version of the same house, so they're in there and they see the lights going through, and they're like, "Is it the monster?" And she's like, "No, it's something."
Well, no, and she goes, "The monsters." They see the blood, and Hopper goes, "The monster's been hurt."
Yeah.
And he sees the lights. Jonathan sees the lights going out the door, and he goes, "Mom," and that's when Joyce turns around and is like, I got a feeling. And Hopper's like, come on, let's get out of here.
Which also is a good way of the show saying, yes, these realities are slowly merging.
And it is a really touching scene because he's got tears in his eyes and he's realizing, fuck, my mom's
is over there now.
And I hope she's okay. You know? So then we see this scene between Mike and Elle when he has all these plans and he's telling her about how when, all this is said and done, the mom will get her a bed and, Nancy will be his sister and stuff, and she's like, will you be my brother? And he's like, oh no, and then he invites her to...
No, you don't invite your sister to the dance.
Yeah, and he invites her to the dance, and it's funny because it's one of those that you're like, it's not going to end as planned. It's bitter.
Well, it's even worse because at the end of that scene, what happens? He swoops in for a kiss.
Gets a kiss.
It's awkward as all hell, but it happens.
So precious, though. And... So the kids, or the government catches up with the kids, but because they're back, they're still at the middle school.
Middle school, yeah.
So the government catches up with them, and they've got Dr. Brenner has Elle, right? Have I?
No. There was an in between scene. They both get cornered.
She liquefies the brains.
Yeah, the female, the woman that shot the cook.
I mean,
she's like. Eyes bleeding, ears bleeding, and
that's when Elle goes down. And that Elle's like she's losing her energy.
Yeah, and she drops like a rock.
So Dr. Brenner comes in and has her and is like, oh, you can come home with me. You can come home. I'll take care of you. We'll get you better. And she's like, bad, no, Mike. And she's reaching out to Mike and stuff. And you're like, oh my God. And I love it because the other kids are like, eat shit. And like, we're going to kick your ass.
Yeah, and then she tells him, she's like, bad man. The doc's like, yeah, Papa, and she's like, no, bad man.
Yeah, and then immediately the fucking monster comes
through the
wall, and as quick as I was like, really? Just takes down Dr. Brenner, and that's it, and he's gone.
Yeah, I even have that in my notes. It's like, yeah, he arrives busting through the wall, all the men open fire, but it rips him a new asshole before killing the doc, and then was my note. You don't get to see it really, which is a bummer.
I wanted to see him get his, like you said before, comeuppance. And he sees the monster, and he just stands there. He doesn't try to run. He just stands there and watches it, and it jumps on him.
And that's it.
So you're like, cool, he's dead. That's awesome. But we saw more of a better death from the female Dr. Brenner than we did him.
Yeah.
We got to see her get blood out of her eyes and
I agree.
I would have appreciated reverse.
Yeah.
See him get I would have loved to have seen Elle kill him.
Yeah, I would have too. But at this same point, Hopper and Joyce follow the blood trail to where the alien eventually popped out, which was the school. And they I believe at this point they find Will.
Real quick, right before that, we see Dustin pick up Elle, which was like, but he's the only one who can pick her up. Picks her up, they run into a room, and the monster catches up with them. And then it goes to Joyce.
Yeah.
We're in the library finding Will.
Yeah, they find him, and I guess, again, kind of alien. There was like a face hugger, basically.
Yeah.
But, it's not the actual, like, crab thing, but it's definitely the weird umbilical cord into his mouth.
Yeah. And when we saw that, we were like, oh, shit, he's dead.
He's dead or something's happening. And
this triggers Hopper's memory of his daughter dying, and so because you see more of that and stuff. They pull the evil out, and it's trying to swiggle away very quickly, so you're not getting it all at once, and they're cutting it really quickly. And so at some point, the kids take Elle and escape to the science room. Yeah, the science lab, back to the science classroom. Which I also thought was kind of ironic. She spent all of her life in a lab, and now towards the end, that could be the end of her life. In their life, she's back in a lab. And it's crazy because at this point, we don't know who's going to make it. Yeah. Yeah. Because the Demogorgon has gotten into the classroom. And at this point... Yeah, and it's already stood up to an attack by Nancy and Jonathan. She shot it a few times, lit it on fire, didn't die. It busts through a wall, gets hosed down by automatic weapon fire,
doesn't die. And you're like, dude, this thing's unstoppable.
Yeah.
So at this point, you're like, yeah, they probably will die.
Yeah. And so Lucas is using his slingshot, and it's in slow.
The wrist rocket.
He's like just getting rocks, and he's just slingshotting it, and it's in slow motion, and I loved it because you're glued to the screen.
Yeah.
On the edge of
your mind is like, dude, this isn't going.
How are they going to do this? And you see the last one, and I loved it because I looked also in the background, and it's Lucas going like this, and in the background is Dustin, and he's going, make it, like, hit it. Like, he's, like, kind of telling, hit the fucking mark. And the mark is when the Demogorgon opens its mouth, and it's that big butthole.
Yeah.
He hits it right in there, and it shoots it back.
Shoots it, like, unrealistically back towards the wall.
Everybody's like, wait a minute.
Yeah, into the chalkboard. And they're like, okay, what do we do? And this is when we see Elle use the last of her energy.
Yeah.
And
she's the one that forced it back against the wall. Mike tries to stop her. She just does literally this. Flings.
I start like getting the waterworks because she turns around and she goes, goodbye, Mike. And you're like, no, like she can't die. And she uses her hand power and basically like dissolves the creature, but she also goes with it.
Yeah.
And you see her face kind of like draining of color, and it's dark and veins, and
she's screaming.
And you see Mike, and it shows Mike, a scene of Mike, and he's got his ears covered because it's so loud, but he's watching it all happening, and he's crying, and you can see he's so sad. And in between those scenes,
it's a CPR scene.
Have already gotten like Hopper's sitting there taking the
they took Tennis out. He's not breathing, and they're having to give him CPR, and he's flashing back to the memory of the doctors and nurses doing the same thing to his daughter.
And Hopper and his wife are in the background watching it happen.
Crying.
And he's sitting there doing the compressions, the chest compressions. Joyce is doing the air and stuff.
Then it flashes to like Hopper in like the stairwell crying.
And that's when you
after his daughter died, and they're like,
he starts pounding on his chest, just hitting him. Fuck it, I'm just going to hit him. And he fucking wakes up.
He wakes up.
And at this point, I'm fucking, like, today, when I rewatched them, I was bawling crying, because the first time I watched these episodes, I was with Adam, so I was like, I had that lump in my throat, my eyes were filled with tears, I was like, don't fucking cry in front of Adam, because all I want to do is sob, so I got to do that today. I sobbed a bunch, and then I think you were kind of crying too. We both weren't looking at each other, so when we weren't talking or we're not looking at each other, we know the other's crying, so we're like, it was the most heartbreaking scene of the entire show. Not just because Elle, but because of this. And you're seeing, and it was mostly you're crying not because of Will, but you're crying because of what happened to Hopper. Yeah. You know, and it's really, like, I'm like, Will, whatever. I don't care at this point. I care so much.
Yeah, even I was kind of like, yeah, fuck Will.
I care so much more for Hopper and Elle and Mike and them than I do Will.
Yeah.
And so Will wakes up.
It's only because Will, we never really get an attachment to him. We get an attachment to all the people.
Everybody else. And so now Will is in the hospital. And
a little flash forward. You don't quite know how they made it out, how they got him to the hospital. But it flashes straight to them in the hospital. He wakes up.
Friends all reunite. And I love it because they're just like, oh, man. There was a girl and she had powers.
Yeah, she had the force. She flipped a freaking van. It was awesome.
And it was like, you're like, oh, yeah, but you're still in the back of your mind, you're thinking about Elle.
Yeah.
Like, you're still like, where's our girl?
And then, you can still tell, like, Will has gone through a heck of a lot. He's still kind of drained. He's coughing.
What I love is that he's still, when he's with Jonathan and Joyce, he's still asking Jonathan, well, what happened to your hand? Are you okay?
Yeah.
He still gives a fuck about what happened to his brother and everybody else, And for me, I wrote down in my notes, like, to see the length that these friends went through to save their friend was like, who never once really doubted that he was dead, or doubted that he was alive. Sorry. You're like, God, that's like, adults would have, they're dead, they're gone. It's like these kids just had so much faith in the fact that he was alive that they went through all this crazy stuff to find him. And they essentially were the ones who saved him, because without them and their kind of, I don't know what the word is, but like being so naive and having so much belief in the other world and the dimensions and stuff, they're the ones who saved him, because without them, no one would have believed Joyce.
Yeah, there was a moment in that scene that I didn't quite understand until later. It was, all of them are there. Jonathan, is standing up, and then behind them you see Nancy, who looks at them and kind of is happy for a second, then is kind of sad. And I'm like, maybe she, because in a previous scene when she's at the police department, one of the ladies that works there is like, yeah, he's done all this stuff for you. He's in love with you. And you feel that at that scene, she's like, yeah, he's in love with me. I am kind of in love with him. But at this moment, him and his, all that he cares about, understandably, is his brother and his family. There might not be a place for me.
It felt like she was realizing that's the end of me and Jonathan's relationship.
Yeah.
We got connected through this, and that was why we spent so much time together. And now that this is over, we're not going to be spending any time together.
Yeah, because she wants to be something else, and just like you told her before. But at the end of it, you see Hopper leaving the hospital, and very kind of dark and ominous. He leaves the hospital, lights a cigarette, and then you see one of these men in black cars showing up and open the door, and he gets in. And
he just gets in, yeah.
And then I think it was right after that, it pans back up to the stars.
Yeah, and I thought it would have been great if it ended like that. I would have been like, end it like that. But what did you think when you saw Hopper getting into the car? Did you think
I just thought that is what's opening up for a second season, because you've got okay, so now Hopper's been there, this place still exists.
Yeah, and also I thought there was a bit of the devil's due. You sold your soul to the devil, you got to pay the price
now, sucker.
It's like
your confidentiality.
There's no happy ending for you.
We're going to use you. Yeah. We're going to exploit you. We're going to use you for everything we can.
Yeah.
So, that's what I wanted to know. It's because when we both watched that scene, we were like, what? And we thought it was going to end, and then it goes 1 month later.
And it's wintertime. It's snowing. Guess what? There's no fucking school.
It's Christmas time, and just as it started, just as episode 1 or chapter 1 started, the 4 are back in the basement playing their little RPG game. And
it's almost identical situation, but the way they handle it has changed. They now work as a group.
Yeah.
And there's also, not the Demogorgon, there's a new monster, which also might be a little kind of hint at a new season, might be a new monster.
Maybe. So, and it made me wonder, it's a month later and everybody's all fun and having fun and playing the game and stuff. And I was like, have they all but forgotten about Elle? Or?
They haven't yet, but in the middle of the game after it's done, they start bitching at Mike. They're like, dude, it was only 10 hours long. And what about all the plot holes and everything? I was like, yeah, dude, they are talking to critics right now going, what about all the plot holes? What happened to this? What happened to that? Which is what we're feeling at this point. And then right after the game's done, Mike looks over to where Elle slept, a little cubby hole, and he's, a little crying.
It's so sad, but he's a young kid, you're like, eh. So this is when we see a scene when we realize the nice guys truly do finish last, because Nancy...
Yeah, Jonathan shows up to take Will home. He's about to leave, and Nancy goes up to him and... Go ahead.
Nancy picked the bad good guy, picked him, who has hopefully changed his ways, after the shit he's been through.
I still think this is an 80s family. The mother knows she had sex with him. She would never let him in the house.
Yes.
Yeah, but they're not in the bedroom, so.
It doesn't matter.
I don't know. When I had my boyfriends, my parents knew I was sleeping with them, but they never let me in the bedroom.
You were that's also late 90s. This is 84.
Have sex.
84, they would have been like,
I was
have sex with my daughter, I'm going to kick your ass and you can never see her again. Not, come on over and have Christmas with us.
So what did you do? Did you think that he was going to end up with, or she was going to end up with Jonathan or Steve? And were you bummed?
I didn't think she was going to end up with Jonathan.
Yeah.
It's that, it's the Speed 2. It's the, you remember the beginning of Speed 2, how they wrote out.
Keanu Reeves' character, yeah.
They're just relationship build on that much, can't last or whatever, So I was like, she's not going to end up with Jonathan.
Were you bummed?
Not really.
Yeah.
I was just
I was like, cool, I hope he changed his ways. He seemed like a good guy. They kind of hinted that. So Nancy gave Jonathan a gift, and it was the camera that Steve had broken. And they hinted that Steve was the one who gave it to him.
Well, at the very least, he was involved on some level.
If anything, he was the one who purchased it. Because
purchased it. She picked it out. You purchased it.
What we discussed in the previous episode was that he was pretty wealthy.
Yeah, well, he drove wasn't it a Mercedes-Benz?
Yeah, so a
BMW. He drove a BMW.
He probably purchased it and felt bad, say, hey, these guys helped me, I helped them, I'm going to purchase this for him, but you give it to him because I can't, So, and then we see Hopper at a Christmas party at the station. He's packing a Tupperware of snacks, And then we see him pull into the side of the road by the woods.
Yeah, by the same creepy woods.
He walks into the woods, and you're seeing this scene, and it's a static shot of his camera, or whatever, and there's a box covered in stuff.
Covered still, yeah.
And he walks up to the box, he opens the box, places the Tupperware in there.
And what does he place on top?
Pocket Eggos, and closes the box, and we're like, she's alive. She's alive somewhere.
Well, yeah, and I love that moment because he kind of realizes he's part of the reason why she's there.
Yeah, exactly. Because he probably came to an agreement with them somehow and said, I will agree. And so this is what I put in my notes. I said, Elle is fucking alive. What exactly did Hop agree to with these guys? Seemingly, Elle is probably still in the Upside Down somewhere.
Yeah.
And she comes out to eat and stuff, and they've all agreed to keep themselves hidden, maybe to avoid chaos again.
Yeah.
That she stays hidden, she knows they're all out there, and that he just feeds her, and she comes out and gets her food and goes back to the Upside Down. Because now the monster is gone, so maybe she's just living there.
Well, and since the monster is gone, you got to wonder, it's like, we don't know what happened to the wall badge. Has it sealed up completely?
We have no idea, and we never saw that.
I would guess that, and when she did what she did, that sealed the hole. So now she might be trapped over there.
She can still come out because they never sealed the hole in the tree. Because nobody else knew there was a hole in the tree.
Well, the hole in the tree sealed itself up after.
I know, but it still opens, though.
It might and might not.
Open.
She might have fixed the damage she did.
Because all they knew, all the government people knew, was that there was the hole.
And that's
honestly, know about the hole in the tree.
Well, but there was holes anywhere that the monster could go through, basically.
True.
It would make holes anywhere. But by sealing it up, she might have sealed herself on the other side, which...
But she's still...
That's even a sadder ending, that she might be stuck there, as far as we know, forever. And this is the only way she can get food. And it's like, oh...
Yeah. So, at the end of this episode, we see that Will is back home. He's having like a really shitty Christmas dinner with his mom and with Jonathan, and he excuses himself to go to the bathroom. Lights start flickering in the bathroom, and boom, he
coughs. First he coughs, and you're like, he still has the cough from the hospital.
That's fine.
But when he coughs up a slug.
Yes, but hold on, he coughs it up when he's in the Upside Down.
No, he coughs it up in the real world. He goes down the drain, and he looks in the mirror again, and then he gets a flash of the Upside Down world.
Yeah, so the bathroom is in the Upside Down. You see the floaty stuff, and he's like...
But the slug is in the real world, so he brought something back.
And then he goes back to the table like normal and eats and stuff. And so what I'm wondering was it remnants? Or is it harmless? Or is he half slug boy now?
No, it's not harmless. I can guarantee that.
Yeah.
They're literally foreshadowing. This isn't over. He brought something back. He is either unwillingly doing this, or the fact that he didn't bring up the fact he just puked up a slug.
But we don't know.
I mean that he might have been changed some way over there.
And how long has he been puking these slugs up?
And it's the same slug that you saw come out of Barb's mouth when Elle found her dead body.
Yeah.
Night of the Creeps.
Yes.
It's the Night of the Creeps.
So, okay, the three of us, let's go. Let's do a final rating of the show out of a 5.
Real quick, I gotta say, the one thing that wasn't tied up that upset me, I wanted somebody to tell Elle's mom that she was right and that Elle was still alive. Like, that's the one thing that I expected.
But I think she wouldn't have.
But then again, it might have been more torturous to her. Yes, your daughter was alive, but she's now in an alternate dimension. She probably might not ever be able.
And she's so fried that she wouldn't be able to do anything anyways.
Yeah.
So, okay, out of a 5, what do you give it?
Oh, I give it a 5. It's perfect. Like, I mean, it's got its little things, but it's...
I give it a 5 out of 5.
You know what? I can't say 5 scale. I'll go to 10. Out of a 10, I give it a 9.
So
only because I am such a perfectionist. That
so basically a 4.5 out of 5.
4.8. Yeah, it's close to a 5. I wouldn't quite give it that. There were a few things in the show, like, the whole, bus flipping over, and there were some little stuff, nitpicking stuff, but,
absolutely.
And Winona Ryder's character I thought was a little bit hammy at times. Yeah. But other than that, it's a great show. One of the best I've seen on Netflix.
Great storytelling.
And that says a lot because Netflix has a ton of good shows these days.
Great actors. The show had it all. I mean, that was a wonderful show. We don't know. There has been no official announcement of a season 2, but it's pretty much...
As far as everyone else involved has said they want to do a season 2, they don't know, at this point they're like, we don't know if it's going to be right after it because the kids are aging, and we don't know if it's going to be several months later, or another kind of story, like, kind of doing like an anthology, like Stranger Things doesn't necessarily have to be those same characters again. It can be another, different story with strange things happening. But everyone is on board wanting to do it. It's just Netflix hasn't officially said, yeah, we're doing it. But it's a no-brainer at this point. They're going to because this show has been so popular. They're not going to be like, nah, we're never going to do it again.
Yeah.
So, it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
And when it comes back, we will be back with another episode. So for that one. But thank you guys so much for watching this and listening to us for these episodes.
At long lengths, because this one's probably gone a little bit long.
Yeah, and if you have stuck around, awesome.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Really appreciate it.
Hopefully you've seen the show, and hopefully you love it as much as we do.
We had to talk about it. It's such a wonderful show. Thank you guys so much for watching. We will see y'all next time.
Take care.